Welcome all of you. My name is Obedi Abraham Aaron. I work with the Culture Council of Tanzania, which is a member of EFF and a member of SACAU. And I'm the CMT certified moderator. So I will be moderating this session with my colleague, Nukupiwa, if she will be able to join us. And before even we start, I want some to give you some rules. The first one, if you are not speaking, please turn off your camera in order to increase the concentration and attention to other people. That is the first one. The second one, please don't forget to make your microphone off when you are not speaking. And the third one is if you have anything, please raise up your hands, and the moderator or the one who is speaking will allow you to speak. So raise your hand whenever you want either to contribute or to comment something or to ask any question. That is the third one. And the last one, which is the fourth, we have a translation. So we have two translations for the English speaking and for the French speaking. So if you want one of the language, please go to the downside to your computer and choose translation and opt for the language that you wanted to. You'll be able to understand. So those are four rules in order to make it participatory to be very, very good for all of us. So yes, welcome all of you.
And soyez la bienvenue à vous tous. Et comme je vous ai dit,
which is aimed to discuss on the issues of COP and UNFCCC with regards to climate finances. So before we even start, I want to pass you through the agenda of today, which is going to be like 2.5 hours. So let me try to share my screen. So the first one was introduction of the session, which I'm going to provide what are the objectives. Then we're going to have the welcome remarks, which is going to come from PAFO. I don't know if Baba Femi is with us here. And after that, we're going to have the introduction to the COP, on which on this session we have an expert here who is Stephen Muwaya, is going to go with us to present on what are the issues for African agriculture with regards to COP. And after that, we're going to have the second topic, which is on accessing of climate finances for farmers organization, on which Tinashe Chavhunduk, who is a program coordinator of climate resiliency from SACAU, is going to pass us through those areas. And after that, we're going to have the breakout rooms. In the breakout rooms, we have 6 questions, which I'm going to share with you in the comment section to discuss on issues related to climate finances. So on those 6 questions, I will try to read to read them randomly. So the first one was it will be around what are the main barriers that farmers organization face when trying to access climate finances. And the second one is what advocacy strategies have been effective in promoting farmers' interest in climate finances negotiations at local, national, and international levels. And the third question will be how can partnerships with NGOs, government, financial institutions, can facilitate better access to climate finances for farmers. And after that, we're going to discuss on how can technology and social media be utilized to amplify the voices of farmers in a climate finance discussions. And the fifth question will be, how can farmers' organization effectively communicate their needs and priorities during climate finance negotiations? And the last question on this matter will be on how can farm organizations form coalitions with other stakeholders in order to advocate on climate finances. So these will be the 6 questions which we are going to discuss on the breakout rooms. And after that, we're going to have the reporting back on those 6 questions. So we're going to choose them, the moderators and the rapporteurs on those groups. Then they're going to have the session to report back what they have discussed. And after that, we're going to have the summary of the key points and thanks or the closing of the session. So on this, I'm going to be the moderator and rapporteur of this session. I'm going to give you the summary of what we have discussed and what are the key points of today's discussions. So if I will go with what the timetable needs to be done right now, I take this opportunity to welcome the powerful representative. If Obabafemi is not with us, to give us the welcoming remarks in order for the timetable to continue as we have planned. So, INSAF.
Oui, bonjour à tous.
Yes, so good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm really sorry on behalf of Babafemi because they have a workshop on organizational development in Addis Ababa, and so they are currently doing the closing ceremony with Madame Nicole, who is the director, international director of AHA. And so I would like to wish you a warm welcome in this session between UNFCCC, a project that we started with AHA in order to improve the negotiation skills of the farmer organizations in COP, and the Pan-African platform for exchange for farmer organizations. And here the objective is to strengthen capacity of farmer organizations. And so it is also to create a platform for exchanging experiences and competences among the members of PAFO and their technical staff. It is the first time that we are doing a joint session between the two projects, and so it would be very interesting. And so we would like to welcome you, and I also wish you the fruitful discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, INSAF, for the welcoming remarks. And I want to take you a little bit on what we have planned to discuss today. So this session focus, as INSAF has already mentioned, she has already mentioned, this session focuses on UNFCCC negotiation processes. It aims to strengthen the participation of elected representatives and technical staff from farmers, organizations, and their members, as well as those who are from PAFO. It also targets representatives at national farmers organizations in Africa to play a greater role in UNFCCC negotiation and other climate-related issues while assisting their members in engaging at the national levels. So this session will allow farmers organizations here and even the other participants who have joined us here to enhance their understanding of climate issues and better navigate international funding and advocacy mechanisms. So the session will be 2.5-hour session where we'll focus on practical knowledge and tools necessary to strengthen farmers' organization resilience and effectively engage in COP processes. So these are the general objectives of these sessions. And of course, some of the specific objectives is to raise the awareness among ourselves, among farm organizations, about available climate finances mechanisms and how we can access them. And the other specific objectives is to to equip ourselves as a farm organization with effective advocacy strategies to influence in national and international decision-making processes. So thanks to PAFO, Pan-African Farmers Organizations, for hosting us, for keeping supporting us, and our partners, of course, Hermes Academy, AHA, and Food and Forestry Development Finland, FFD, for keeping supporting us in these in different dimensions related to either climate and agriculture in general. So if I'm going to the timetable, I take this opportunity to welcome our expert to take us through the COP. So you are welcome, Mr. Muwaya, to take us through. Take your time. Thank you. Mr. Muwaya, are you with us?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to share. Just a minute.
Okay.
Okay, just a minute. I'll be there.
So that I wanted just to remind you, Mr. Muwaya, your session is for 40 minutes. So
okay.
We will have a presentation and the Q&A session in those 40 minutes. So you're welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I just want to, to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you my experience on the negotiations. I will not put the camera just to make sure that I have enough enough space to present. So I just want to say that I have been involved in the negotiations since the Copenhagen COP, and I've been negotiating mostly agriculture. I am also right now the co-coordinator for least developed countries on agriculture. And I'm also a member of the AGNES, which is part of the structure that supports Africa on negotiations, particularly on agriculture. I have listed out elements that I'm going to provide. One, a brief introduction about the state of agriculture in the continent, really the expected role of the African farmers organizations. In addition to that, we just highlighting how farmers organization could influence global climate change decision-making processes. In addition, I'll provide an interactive calendar which will help us to know the kind of interventions and where to make them as we go along. And then I will highlight generally how the climate negotiation process really moves on. And also I will reflect on the current state of agriculture negotiations and what is the expectation at COP29. And of course, I have also highlighted some questions. As you go along, it would be better that we can try to look at what are the actions that we need to move forward, what are the gaps that we need to address in order to increase the effect of climate change negotiation from the farmer organization, but also how we can look at what are the available opportunities to empower farmers organizations in order to deliver effective action. Just as a background, I just want to say that we have to look at agriculture as a crucial sector for Africa, where livelihoods and food security are largely determined from this sector. Its contribution to GDP is significant. Its support to livelihood is quite important for the majority of the population. And also it provides a lot of employment, because most of the value addition processes are providing employment for people In addition to that, we look at it's being a key sector in ensuring food security, but also in reducing poverty. And it is also quite important for us to recognize that agriculture is the most vulnerable sector to climate change. In view of that, I think it is on that basis that we have the CAADP, the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program, the African Union Malabo Declaration. All these are important frameworks that are tackling the challenges of Africa's food systems. And it is important that all these have targeted 2025, which is actually next year, as the end point for their efforts. And here I want to say that the idea of ending hunger, making population that is poor half at least, and then tripling inter-African trade, as well as ensuring 30% livelihood depending on agriculture are resilient to climate change. These were targets set as early as 2013. And I'm sure that you as farmers, your farmers organizations, you have the biggest responsibility to see this fulfilled. Having said that, I want also to recognize that climate change challenges, as I said, African farmers are the ones that are most affected, they are most vulnerable, and this is affecting, these are the conditions that are really affecting their resilience and adaptive capacity. And taking it from the IPCC projections, that warmer conditions are going to be more devastating for crops and livestock production and food security. The key risks include the high temperature and drought, which will affect agricultural productivity significantly. In addition, the increase in pests and diseases, the damage caused by them will be increasing, and this is a challenge. But also the floods and their impacts on the food system infrastructure will be high. When we talk of food system infrastructure, we are also talking about the soil, which is the infrastructure on which we plant our crops. So don't think of warehouses and all these, although those may be affected also. Having said that, I just want to say that as African farmer organizations, we must recognize the vulnerability of our African agriculture, which, as you can see, is largely dependent on smallholder farmers. It is largely rain-fed, and this is the situation we are trying to change. But also the low external inputs. I want to say that some years ago in my country, we saw farmers starting to use improved seed. But lately, we have seen that due to the high cost of improved seed, farmers, of course, have gone back to their local seed, which is also good. And also the use of agrochemicals and fertilizers, all these are affected by the economic means of farmers. And also the fact that poor land management practices dominate. We have a lot of erosion, we have a lot of loss of fertility. All these are challenges which our farmers are facing. And of course, the issue of land fragmentation and the fact that agriculture is a key driver of deforestation. These are concerns of climate nature, which we would like to try and address. In addition to the, of course, the rudimentary tools that our farmers cannot transport manure to their land because they don't have the tools, they don't have the motorized equipment, they cannot do adequate irrigation, they cannot even farm large areas because of such limitations. In addition to the post-harvest losses, I will talk about my country that our maize has been rejected in several countries because of the challenges which you know, that sometimes it is having aflatoxins. And the reason for that is the land is...
It's English.
So, yeah, so I want to say that in addition to the poor, the low agro-processing capacity, and of course, the low productivity. Now, all these are challenges, and our view is that as farmer organizations, we need a role to play. So here I want to say that the first role is the coordination with other actors and sectors to effectively... Hello?
In the past something, I wish you can go back.
Okay. The other area of interest is engaging in national climate implementation activities. I think it is important that as farmers' organization, you should be involved in the formulation and implementation of national climate change activities. For example, the climate change policies, the national adaptation plans, the nationally determined contributions. We would like to see you as part of that. Then the second part is the to promote the generation and the uptake and the use of climate information by farmers at the grassroots. We expect you to play a role here as well. But also the issue of climate smart technologies that need to be transferred to the local level. And then also the approaches for ensuring that we have sustainable and resilient agriculture, especially building on the South-South and North-South partnerships, as well as public-private partnership. In addition, there is need for an increasing role in building capacity of vulnerable communities to better engage in climate planning processes and climate action. And it is you, the farmers organization, that should be able to do this. In addition, we are looking at engaging in dialogue on climate change finance. This particular COP, 29, is going to focus a lot on climate finance. And that is important for you as farmers organization to show your interest. In addition, we are seeing that farmers organization can actively participate and influence global processes. But how should they do that? One, we are looking at the need to develop a critical mass of actors from the ranks of farm organization to follow up the issues and ensure that they represent farmers' farmers' priorities in key climate change processes. The other one is to build the capacity of these technical experts within the farm organizations on the issues, processes, practices that in terms of climate negotiations, in order to ensure that they are adequately and efficiently able to articulate farmers' priorities in the negotiations. The other issue is the coordination with and lobbying with the UNFCCC focal points in the country level. And I want to say that the focal point is the main entry point for UNFCCC in the countries. If you want to get involved in any process or negotiation, you need to get in touch with them, and they will guide you on the registration, all the aspects. The other aspect that we need to look is engaging in the COPs, and most importantly, the intersessional events and platforms. In order for you to be effective at the COPs, you must have been involved in a process of preparing for that COP. And that is where we are saying we need to make sure that these intersessional processes also help you to understand the negotiation landscape and how to use the information as a platform. And would like to see that you use that information as a platform to articulate the voices of farmers and their priorities. I have also suggested that for farmers' organizations to be effective, it is a good idea that you develop and implement an interactive and living calendar that maps out relevant events to participate in building consensus on common positions, submissions, and statements to ensure climate negotiations and implementation to COP are really, it's possible to do that. I have highlighted some of these, but in the interest of time, I'll just highlight a few. One, at country level, we need country debriefing meetings after the COP. We also have meetings to prepare country positions at sector level, for example, on Sharm el-Sheikh agenda. As farmers' organization, you should be interested in how the agriculture ministry or whatever is taking this up, and you should be part of the negotiations or part of the discussion at country level. The thematic groups and national negotiating teams normally come together to prepare a country position. And so we also need your participation there. We are also looking at the need for this country position to be consolidated on all issues of the convention at national level to form what we call a country position paper. There must be good evidence in that paper that farmers' organizations have made an input to that national position paper. And so these are the activities that you must be involved in. You must be available to request the national focal point to accredit some of the farmer organizations on the government delegation so that they are able to articulate the farmers' issues even within the government delegation. And I've given you a time frame which you can use to achieve that. The other element that we need is to engage in regional processes. And here I want to mention that for agriculture, we have the Access platform where thematic regional meetings are held normally in February or March. And sometimes we also hold it in September or October. These two help us to prepare for COP meetings. And so your role as farm organizations should enable you to join into these platforms. And then Access also has what they call a thematic regional capacity building workshop held every year, normally in March, where you can support or get sponsorship to participate and learn more about and be trained on negotiations and also how to participate. And also there is the African Climate Change, Climate Week, where we expect you to be involved. And here you can see that we have a lot of leaders and a lot of champions that have a lot of showcasing that we need you to learn about in agriculture as well. And then, of course, the African group of negotiators also is another area where you should participate. I just want to say that there is no doubt that the country level is the entry point for you to participate in the negotiations. And therefore, the country agriculture sector should be your target to find the negotiators in agriculture to help you advance your issues and also to help you join the negotiation team because they will recommend you to the focal point if they find you useful in supporting the team. The second area is the National Climate Change and Negotiation Team. These are the people who put up submissions. They are the ones who are the only ones entitled to make submissions to the UNFCCC. So you must get in touch with them if you feel that the country position submitted has to be improved or it has to be inclusive of farmer issues. The other issue, of course, is the African Group of Negotiators. And here we would like to say that Agnes works with the African Group of Negotiators, and normally they make regional submissions. Now, you as farmers organization, you must be part of this effort to build a regional African position, which will make sure that farmers' issues are integrated. There is also the LDC coordinators team, where I also participate. And here I must say that there is a great opportunity for farmers' organization to make their views known, in addition to the G77 coordination. Now, these are the avenues which we can use to make farmers' issues understood and effectively used. So I wanted this to be a little bit interactive, and I just wanted to know if there are any questions or any suggestion on the actions, the gaps, or opportunities that colleagues may have. This would be good before I finish the other section of the presentation. I don't know if there is any suggestion or any opinion.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I raised my hand, so I just adjusted. Sorry, for those who have turned on their microphone, please turn off. And the other comment is we have already consumed the 20 minutes, so we have only 20 minutes for the remaining session. I was just needed to remind you, sir. Thank you.
I do not see any intervention, so I will highlight briefly the next elements, and these are mainly the key messages that we have. Is that we must look at the farm organization using this interactive calendar to identify.
Sorry. Can I speak?
Please go ahead.
Yes, I see the hands from Gansham, and I just reminded you that we have already consumed half of the time, so we have only 20 minutes. So I saw the Gansham hands.
Yes, it's my hand. So I am saying it's a good opportunity, and what you have done is to be seen. But I think we must prepare more for the next COP in Brazil, because now it's late for this COP. And of course, because we farmers at COP, I think we will be very few people. There will be no too much delegation participating in this COP. It is very difficult. I think it will be very difficult to raise our voice, because we will be very less. And but for the next COP, maybe Brazil, it will be very good. So we have to prepare from now. And what the structure is proposing is very nice. It's very helpful. And I see forward to meet you, COP. Thank you.
Thank you. And since that I agree with the speaker that there is need to prepare adequately. But of course, with the information we are providing, you can as well get involved one way or another. what I really wanted to emphasize is that let's use this interactive calendar to really identify and plan our participation into the various meetings that are important, but also use them to lobby and advocate for the integration of farmers' priorities, and also expand the networks that are lobbying for farmers' issues by meeting other partners that can be enlisted as lobbyists for farmers' organization. Next, I don't know why it's not coming.
I see the hand from Tinashe Chavhunduk.
Thanks, Obed. Thanks to Mr. Muwaya for a very informative presentation. I just wanted to pose a question to him. That for a very long time, farmers' organizations have been fighting for a position on the table in the actual negotiations. Was my understanding is that the negotiations are for the parties. Meaning governments. And so our farmers' organizations have been operating for at least the COPs that I've attended, that they have a meeting where they put together a joint statement that is then eventually going to be submitted to the negotiating parties. And that doesn't seem to work, because it looks like it's secondary, and it's for the parties now to look at the joint statement and see what they can do. So I'm not sure if there has been movement in terms of farmers' organizations actually having a space on the table, the negotiations table itself. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And in view of time, I will be able to answer that question through my next part of the presentation, if it is okay. And given the time constraint, I would like to go ahead. But I will certainly answer you on this through this presentation. Thank you. I wanted to move forward because the question asked is a forward question. So I will go to the overview of the climate change negotiation process. And this is the SPRIM. The Conference of the Party is the SPRIM decision-making body of the climate change process in the climate change process. And it is important that we note that the convention under the COP, where we have two subsidiary bodies, the subsidiary body on scientific and technological advice, and the subsidiary body on implementation. Okay. Yeah, so I'm sorry about the interruption. So what we are saying here is that the subsidiary bodies meet twice in a year, while the COP meets once a year. And the second subsidiary body, the first subsidiary body is intersessional, normally meets in June, and the second subsidiary body meets together with the COP. And that is why there are two in one COP. The second important information is the Conference of the Party is the highest decision-making body. The outcomes of the COP are normally decisions. And then we have the other, the UNFCCC process has additional elements, like it has a protocol, the Kyoto Protocol, where the COP, the same COP meets meeting of parties for the Kyoto Protocol. It is called COP MOP. If you see the writing on any COP, it will have COP MOP. That means the COP is addressing more than one, it is addressing a meeting of parties of the Kyoto Protocol, but also it is a meeting, it is also constituted as a meeting for the parties for the for the Paris Agreement. And so within the UNFCCC, there are two additional agreements, the Kyoto and the Paris Agreement. So this is important for you to know. Now, the convention has what they call an institutional arrangement and specialized bodies. Now, under this institutional arrangement, they have a number of constituted bodies, which are made of small numbers, but help to do more work, especially during the intersessional process. And I've listed a couple of them there. One of them is the Standing Committee on Finance, the Technology Executive Committee, the also International Mechanism on Loss and Damage, and of course the Adaptation Committee and others. In addition, the COP also has financial mechanisms and funds, and the Global Environment Facility is the main one, which I'm sure all of us know, the Green Climate Fund, the Special Climate Fund, and then also the Least Developed Country Fund, and recently created fund for responding to climate, loss and damage. For negotiations, I want to say this, that during the COP and all the negotiation sessions, parties have organized themselves into what we are calling negotiating blocks. For example, the G77, which is consisting of the three Asia, Africa, and Latin American Caribbean, plus China as one block. We have the African group of African negotiators that have all the 54 countries. We have the Latin American and Caribbean, the Arab group, there are 22 countries. We have the 27 European Union countries, the Environmental Integrity Group, which is also made up a number of European countries that are not part of the EU, and also the Umbrella Group, which has some of the other countries as well. And in addition to the least developed countries, that are 46 countries that are poor and the most vulnerable. So all these, and of course the small island also have a group. Now, why am I mentioning these? These are all bodies which we can use to lobby our issues and as farmers. And I think it's important to use them. I was giving just an example that countries are members to several. For example, Burundi is affiliated to about 5 of those. Ethiopia is affiliated to about 5 as well. And some of them I have not mentioned, like the Alliance Intergovernmental de la Francophone, which is a very strong one for African countries, which are Francophone. So what farmer issues into the negotiations. I really want to mention and say that the arrangements that we are looking at is the farmers' organization should engage these relevant institutions in order to benefit from the technical support that is available, but also identify the relevant COP processes that that farmer climate change priorities can be addressed, and also contribute to the positions and submissions by these bodies make sure you have a sentence that talks about farmers, whether it is G77, whether it is the least developed countries, whether it is Africa. They make statements in the plenary, but you must do that. Someone was asking, is that why are farmers not having a way? You must influence those bodies to negotiate. The other thing is that the other key messages is that your affiliation to these bodies should be utilized by making sure that the various negotiating groups are really tackled, and you use them to increase the network that lobbies for African farmers' issues. And I think this is very important. As a farmers' organization, you are considered to be part of the civil society. And I want to say that apart from parties, they are observers. Now, observers organizations are also involved in the negotiation to a certain extent. And we must say that the observers are categorized in 3 types. One, the UN bodies. Normally, when you go to the COP, you'll see that their badges are blue. For parties, the badges are pink. Now, for the intergovernmental organizations like African Union, the COMESA, like SILS and all those, it is green. And then for the NGOs, the non-government organizations, this is brown. And here I want to say that the INGOs can register delegates once they have received observer status. Observer status means that NGOs must be registered through the COP process. And the other point is that NGOs do not, because I'm emphasizing this particular element of NGOs because this is the most convenient constituency that we should use. And here I want to say that NGOs are categorized and organized in constituencies. Each constituency has focal points. Now, the current constituency focal point for farmers constituency is the World Farmers Organization. And the contact person is also there. Even if you go to the internet, you'll get the address of that person. Now, the constituencies that are highlighted include the business, environment NGOs, the indigenous peoples, the local governments and municipalities, research and independent NGOs, women, gender, trade, children and youth, YUNGO, and then the farmers, where you belong. Now, it is usually lack of critical mass of actors associating with each of these that make it not make statements, make it to have no meetings at the COP. And so what we are saying, we need more of you, of farmers organizations, to be accredited so that you form what we call the critical mass. When you are accredited,
sorry, Mr. Muwaya.
Yeah.
Sorry for interfering. We have already consumed all the 40 minutes that we have planned for this session. So I would advise if we can go quickly, I will add just 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes, you are supposed to finish the presentation and allow question and answers. I don't know how.
Let me quickly do that.
Okay.
So what we are saying is that when you get accreditation and you are in one of these constituencies, you can take the floor and you can be given the floor to make some statement. Sometimes you can access the meetings, which you would otherwise not be able to access because you have a card that can allow you. You can access information on the upcoming sessions. You can actually even attend ministerial high-level meetings. And also you can be invited by Secretariat to participate in other workshops after the session, after the COP. This is possible for you to be part of it. And so I will simply say that we need you to lobby other organizations to join the farmers. We also need you to advocate the recognition of the farmer constituency, which you have said is a little bit weak. We need to put it at the level of the others. And then we need to rally other farmers organizations to engage in the agenda setting in the country, at country level, in the regional level, by making submissions, making written paper contributions. Please don't just talk. When you go to this meeting, put something down and make it available. And also to provide sub-events at the COP, we would like to see you doing that. So finally, I will not go into this in detail because agricultural negotiation at the COP will be happening. You cannot take in a lot of what is happening, but we are going to implement the Sharm el-Sheikh joint work, and this is very critical for Africa. And the main elements I will highlight here is that we are going to prepare for the main outcomes of the COP using the agenda which has been set. I would not like to, I will only take one more slide at the end, just to enable us to give chance to people to have any comments. And I want to say that the priority for the COP29 is going to be the Sharm el-Sheikh online portal. It is also going to focus on the format for the annual synthesis report. It will also look at the call for submissions for the workshop topic, which will be discussed in June. It will also look at the format for the first workshop. How is it going to be done, and who are the speakers? And it also look at the translation of COP, of the recognition of vulnerability of small-scale farmers into tangible or into actionable measures. And this is where I want you as farmers to put a lot of emphasis as well. And finally, there will be need for farmers to engage, for many people in the agriculture sector to engage with other negotiating blocks in order to get the results. I will not take much more time, but the agenda activities for agriculture people, we will be engaging in many more agendas, as you can see highlighted in the presentation. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry I took a bit more time, but I give the opportunity for colleagues to ask any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muwaya. Thank you so much for this informative presentation. I think all of us, we are very thankful to you. So I'm taking this opportunity to allow some questions. So we'll have only 5 minutes for Q&A. So welcome, guys. Anyone, if you have a question, please raise up your hand and I will pick you. Thank you. Any question or comment, your contribution? I don't see any hand.
I just hope that I answered the question of the colleague who asked, and about the farmers' voice. And I have seen that the farmers have been the most active NGOs that have been providing voices include the YUNGO, the youth and children, but also the women and also the business. And we have seen at the last COP that there has been a spokesperson for the farmers' voice. Normally, we would like to see that this continues, and with more farmer organizations getting accredited, we shall see more voices of farmers, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. I've seen 3 hands so far. I will start with Alione Badara, then Prince Kwipa. After that, we'll have Tinashe Chavhunduk. So Alione Badara, you're welcome. Alione Badara, you are muted.
Oui, bonjour à tous. Badara.
Thank you, everyone. Now I'm from the National Platform for Farmers in Senegal, Dakar. For this reason, I'm the Vice President of the Youth Wing of ROPA. I thank you for this meeting of coordination to prepare us to participate in COP, the youth. I really liked the information that we are sharing here together. Myself, with a delegation from Senegal, we participated in COP27. But everything that you are saying, the most important for us at our level is the preparation for this COP, especially in the area of financing, may also to organize our participation. The youth from Africa, we have seen at Sharm el-Sheikh, they participate in a dispersed manner. They participate individually because we are not organized. We are not even prepared. We are not even talking of negotiations where you go to participate in the big conferences, the big meetings with the ministers. We have a participation which is not coordinated. It's not even prepared. It's like a visit for some of us. It is like tourism for others. And I actually do something about it. For the issue of financing, we said in Sharm el-Sheikh in COP28, we said it even is the COP of the last chance. So what are you going to do about it? For ROPA, Munagri, and all the other platforms that are members of PAFO. So I'm taking this opportunity to tell them that our participation of West Africa, especially through PAFO, must be coordinated, must be well prepared. And these farmers must be helped in terms of the climate change issues. So the money is there to finance the fight against climate change, but what are we supposed to do? What information are we supposed to have? What coordination should we have? What participation is going to be in place? Who is going to coordinate? Who is doing what? Who is doing what? Who is going to... this has been missing in all the COPs that have participated. So you go to participate without results, without following up on what we discussed in Sharm el-Sheikh. It is a waste of time. I think we should look at who's going to represent Africa. Sorry, we can't hear him. His mic is on.
Sorry, Mr. Muwaya, if I can allow all the people to ask you all the questions, then you can answer them. So, Dr. Prince Kwipa, please, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much, and I'd like also to thank the presentation. I think it was quite eye-opening. My question is on the participation at the COP, the logistical arrangement and the way to actually get an opportunity to participate. Isn't that we have national focal points who are most likely in the Department or Ministry of Environment? In Zimbabwe here is the Department of Climate Change. So sometimes they do not have, when we try to engage them and to try to participate, they don't have much space in terms of uh, our participation as farmer organization. When you go as a Zimbabwe delegate, if you are allowed, you get that opportunity. So who is the focal point for farmers organizations so that we can also direct our issues to them for accreditation? Is there any financial support or the farmer organizations covered that for themselves? And then how do we contribute to the joint 𝐀𝐼𝐶 process? Do we wait for the call for contributions, or do we just send what we think randomly? So those are the three questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwipa. Tinashe, you have the floor.
Thanks, Obed. Yes, Mr. Muwaya was asking if I was answered. I would say partly so. Maybe just to give you a little bit of background of where I am coming from with this question is that we did some work here in Southern Africa to just try and check if the NDC processes happening in the countries are actually involving farmers' organizations. And what we actually observed was that there is very limited, if any, participation of farmers' organizations in the preparation or the renewal of the NDC documents. So that really gets me to say, if at national level, farmers' organizations are really not engaged in these processes, how do we then trust that the national governments are really going to represent the interest of farmers' organizations in the COP negotiations? So that's why I still feel that why is it not possible, as a question, I mean to say, why is it not possible for farmers' organization to have a space on the table itself, despite the fact that it's for the parties? Because it looks like the interest of farmers' organization is not really being well represented in these processes. And when we talk about the challenges in the agricultural sector, the farmers are really the ones that are experiencing this and suffering the consequences of climate change, especially in our region here in Southern Africa. So it begs a question to say, why is it difficult for farmers' organization to self-represent? Because they are very important constituents in this particular process. Thanks.
Thank you, Tinashe. If you can allow me, Mr. Muwaya, let us finish with the last three.
Yeah.
Albert Dosu. Albert Dosu.
Oui. Merci beaucoup.
So, thank you.
Je me présente, moi c'est Albert Dosu-Togbe de AFDI Togo.
From Togo.
Je suis très heureux de l'opportunité que vous nous offrez là, d'en apprendre un peu plus sur le processus.
On the processes.
Je remarque que toutes les organisations paysannes de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, de l'Afrique en général, ne sont pas en fait au même niveau de compréhension et de participation à ce processus-là. Dans le cas du Togo, par exemple, vraiment, nous avons des difficultés à participer à ce processus-là. Donc, c'est vraiment l'occasion de prendre les contacts de toutes les personnes expérimentées que j'ai pu voir passer là, notamment Stéphane, qui nous a assez bien présenté le processus. À Lyon du Sénégal, qui nous a fait un très bon retour d'expérience voilà, sur ce qui s'y passe justement, le niveau de participation des jeunes et tout. C'est vraiment très bien. Je souhaiterais qu'on ait d'autres cadres justement pour échanger entre organisations paysannes africaines sur comment est-ce que, étape par étape, justement, on peut préparer et effectivement s'inscrire et participer à ce processus-là. Voilà, je vous remercie pour cette opportunité que vous nous offrez encore. Merci beaucoup.
In order to learn more. Thank you.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything in that one. The interpretation was not audible. Is there someone who can quickly translate that in directly? Because it wasn't clear. The translator was not catching. She was not reaching us. Her voice was not coming. Yeah.
Well, even me, I don't think I heard anything about that. So I'm just waiting for the translator.
Yeah, maybe Caroline or Mike, maybe you can help us with this because actually I'm also in the English channel, but I could not get you. It was cutting. Probably it should be network issues.
So I can speak now because I've raised my hand like for a while. Or is there any question they're going to take further?
Okay. I don't know if the moderator is still on, but I suppose you can speak so that we can quickly not lose more time.
Okay. Good morning from Nigeria. I'm Samson. I'm the CEO of Aerial Farm Enterprises. Well, I think to anybody who is in Nigeria have experienced the effect of climate change negatively on our product. And most of the times the issues we have here is as a result of sponsorship. You have your organizations that make awareness on climate change, but there's no sponsors. There's nobody who is going to help you out. So you'll be left out as stranded. Even when you have a lot of people to help out, to know the effects, and maybe to plant trees and other stuff that will hinder or help in treating some of the effect of climate change. But unfortunately, our system here is very poor. And this organization is really trying to bring such kind of courses and awareness to all of us farmers, because as the other speaker have said, we only know what we are passing through as farmers, and the effect is totally on us. Those who buy from us, they will know the effect of climate change. We know what we invest. Sometimes we don't get the result we are expecting. This year we have a shortage of rain in some part of Nigeria, and the rain did not come on time. So a lot of people have lost a lot of huge amount of money. The crops did not yield a lot of food. So it's just like that, half done, half done. So it is really affecting farmers all over here. And I think if there's another way, that this organization will still help making awareness, having advocates, agents in rural and urban areas who will support in making the local farmers to feel the impact and how they're going to feel that, yes, we are carried along, not only in Nigeria, but other part of African countries. I think that will help us a lot, because we've lost a lot of money trying to farm, and the effect is coming down on us. A lot of people have collected loan to invest in farming, and still there's no result. So they're left stranded, they're left frustrated. Some are giving up already in farming, which is not supposed to be. So I think this is the time we need to unite, fight this climate change, although it's a global issue. But I think with our own influence, one way or the other, there's a way we can help to resolve it. If we can change another farming system, we will do that. If we use systems and other equipments that will help to liberate all of us from this suffering. I think it will help. So this is my cry this morning to
I think what you are saying is very important.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that maybe what we can do is that I can simply try to respond to all of them, including yours. And if I may start with yours, the issues you are raising are the issues that you are supposed to push into the negotiation submissions, negotiation statements, and the like. And the question is, why are you unable to do so? Is because you are not engaging. And engaging, in my opinion, is a process that will need you to start from your country level. Look for your national focal point. Look for your agriculture sector. Those are the entry point. My view is that for issues of agriculture, Nigeria participates, and I know the focal point for agriculture in Nigeria, and many countries have. And my view is that we must ensure that the agriculture teams know the farmers' organization. Who is the face of farmers' organization? The act of farmer organization must be put well in our case. What we are saying as farmers' organization, I've highlighted the interactive calendar. You mirror those activities. If you have a debriefing on the COP, you also have a farmers' organization meeting on the COP, so that you tell them the outcome of the COP. Then when you are preparing for the Sharm el-Sheikh or the agriculture issues of the negotiation, make sure that the focal point for agriculture does not leave farmers' organization out of the meetings. And this requires you to be proactive, to go to this person and say, we have finished the COP, we are with you here. When you go home and you are calling a meeting, please don't leave us behind. And the issues is that let us engage. Engaging is the most critical tool. And my view is that farmers should not, and I want to say this, farmers can be part of the government delegation. The government can decide whom they want to send to the negotiations. And so there is no problem for your organizations to have some representative on the government delegation who will access all the meetings and participate. And so the other issue was the coordination of preparation, which our colleague from Senegal mentioned.
Yes, sorry, Mr. Muwaya, sorry.
Yes,
we have only 3 minutes, please.
Let me summarize. I think the most important thing is how to utilize the space which we have at the national level, because this is the entry point. Even the funding, and I'll tell you that many organizations of farmer nature, environment nature are receiving funding because they participate in national processes, because they engage on the follow-up agenda of the COP. Now, this is my advice. If the COP has ended, make a report and share it with the national focal point. That will be first an understanding that you are interested. 2, make sure that you raise the issues of farmers and attend all these meetings at national level. And make sure that you engage with other partners at the country level. Some of the country bilateral partners have supported participants to the COP. And if you have nothing to explain why you want to go to the COP, it will be very difficult for you to justify funding. And so engaging with the COP process, with the next agenda of the COP, justifying your participation on that, And that's why you should follow the agricultural negotiations so that they are the basis for your justification to participate and even support more. And so I just want to say that self-representation is not an option, what you can self-represent by going and getting accredited as an organization. You will go to the COP on your own as a farmers organization, and that will be good. And so the best thing is to say that self-representation is requiring you to get accredited, and that's what we are asking you to do. The accreditation process, you can go to your national focal point. He will tell you how to get accredited as a farmer organization. And it is a simple process. Let nobody tells you it is complicated. They require a few documents which you can provide. And so with all this, I'm sure that participation will be easier and will be more effective. And follow the agenda, participate in addressing the agenda for the COP, but also engage with the national actors, especially the national focal point, and seek out partners and networks, and attend meetings, and also call meetings for farmer organizations to give you views and input. Thank you very much. I will stop at that, but I also thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate in this event. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muwaya Stephen. I know you had a lot of things to share with us, but because of this time limit, if there is some questions that you would like to comment or to answer, please type in a comment section. I think people will go through them and to see what are the answers. And let me take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Tinashe Chavhunduk, who is going to put us through the Access on climate finances. Please, Tinashe Chavhunduk, you have prepared the presentation. Please share with us.
Thanks, Obed. Let me try and share my screen.
You have only 15 minutes. Only 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think I will be able to. To use the 15 minutes. It's a very short presentation, actually. Just a moment, apologies. Let me try to share my screen. So I'm hoping that you are able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Thank you. So, just to say thank you for this opportunity. And the presentation is really not going to be exhaustive of everything that we want to talk about in this meeting, but maybe just as a teaser to prepare us for the breakout groups that we are going to have. We can agree here that this is a very big sort of issue especially for farmers organizations. So it's not something that we are going to exhaust in this meeting, but just to try to share with each other what we can do to try and deal with the issues around climate finance. So I have very few slides here where I am going to briefly, Sorry,
I don't know if it's your screen has stuck with in the file section. I don't know if it's only in my side.
Yeah, mine too.
It has stuck on the file
stuck.
section.
Yeah, it's stuck.
It's stuck on the what?
On the file section.
Yeah.
Maybe if you can stop sharing it and start sharing it again.
Sorry.
No problem. Yes.
Oh, that's going to steal some more time for us again.
Only 15?
Are you able to see my screen now?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
That's already a problem on its own. Let me try again. If I can't, then I'll probably have to ask INSA for Zuberi to assist you.
It has started.
Sharing.
It has started.
It's
Yes,
working
now.
now.
You can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
The problem is when I try to go to presentation mode, that's where it starts. But let me try and see.
Wait. Maintenant, ça va. Wait.
Yes, it is working now.
Okay, I want to try. I think the issue started when I went to presentation mode and hope that it's not going to be a problem again.
No,
now it's working.
Présentation, mais je crois que ça va marcher.
I said I have a few slides here that I'm going to briefly talk to definition of terms, just a few terms on climate finance and who are the sources of climate finance. I think Mr. Muwaya also touched a little bit on that. But then maybe the most important slide for me in this presentation will be number 3, where I'm talking about why is it important for farmers' organizations to access climate finance. And then a challenge also to us as a farmers' organization to say, are we really fit for purpose? If this finance was going to come to us, are we really going to make good use of it? And then I'll do a few concluding remarks. So maybe for starters, I don't think that this is really new information to anyone in the meeting, but I thought maybe it's important to just define what really is climate finance. And this information is public information. You can get it on the UNFCCC website. But this is a finance that aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, enhancing sinks of greenhouse gases, reducing vulnerability. I think that is very important to note, and maintaining and increasing the resilience of both human and ecosystems to negative climate change impacts. So you can see that that is the target of all the climate finance basket or sources of finance, to try and reduce emissions, but also to lessen the burden on human and the ecosystems. But where is this coming from? It's coming from the convention itself, the Kyoto Protocol, the Paris Agreement, where financial assistance has to come from from wealthy nations to those that are less endowed, like most of us in sub-Saharan Africa and other parts of the world. So climate finance is needed for both mitigation and adaptation, but I put the Africa in red and put question marks to say there has been some sort of disagreements as to whether Africa really needs to focus on mitigation or an adaptation. The challenges that we see in Africa is that we are already suffering the brunt of climate change. So are we not better off already focusing more on adaptation than mitigation? Of course, we know that there are some adaptation practices that you can take with the mitigation efforts. And also to just highlight there that it doesn't necessarily mean that especially farmers are not already working on mitigation efforts. So this focus of saying there's bias towards mitigation, if you check in all the calls for proposals that are addressing climate change challenges, there's always a bias towards mitigation. And one wonders whether that is the right approach to take, especially when it comes to our region, especially in Southern Africa. So there, Mr. Muwaya has already spoken to the financial mechanisms that are there. So under the Global Environmental Facility, we have special climate change fund, the Least Developed Fund, which actually talks to most of us in sub-Saharan Africa. Then we also have the Green Climate Fund and the Adaptation Fund. I said here you can visit the UNFCCC Climate Data Portal for more information. So there have been pledges since I think COP20 that I attended. Also, there was this massive pledge of raising 100 billion US dollars every year by 2020 to fund climate action in lower income countries. But statistics that we see is that this target has not been reached yet, and the challenge that needs more funding is actually increasing as we speak. So these pledges are really not forthcoming, and what we continue to see is that we continue to suffer the brunt as farmers and farmers organizations, but also the farmers themselves. So that's just a list of where the sources of climate finance are: public and government sources, multilateral development banks, dedicated project developers and corporations. We've seen other organizations, the world companies that are also chipping in to try and support this. Commercial financial institutions, but of course, the terms for these ones are not as friendly as one would want them to be. Then we also have institutional investors and infrastructure funds. Now, I said this is the slide that really talks more to why we are having this meeting. Say, why make a case for climate finance case for farmers organizations? Yes, because farmers organizations derive legitimacy from membership of farmers. The reason why they exist is that they are working with farmers on the ground. So if farmers pull out of membership of being being part of farmers organization, obviously farmers organizations will cease to exist. Then, because I said the relationship between farmers organization and farmers is like a mother and child. So if the farmers are already facing the brunt of climate change challenges, they can only go through their parents who are farmers organized to try and access climate finance. Also, that mitigation and adaptation actions happen mainly at farm or plot level. So that's why we're arguing for farmers to actually access climate finance through their mother bodies, where the farmers organization. I said in my question to Mr. Muwaya that what we see, or what we've seen from the study that we commissioned in Southern Africa to try and assess participation of farmers organizations in the NDC processes was not really something very positive. So when national governments commit through NDCs on what they are going to do on their forest sector, they are actually in a direct way saying farmers on the ground are actually going to take these necessary actions. But what we don't see is that the reverse relationship is not always true. They are already committing to say farmers are going to do A, B, C, D to try to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. But they don't really talk to the farmers themselves to make these commitments themselves. So we see some kind of mismatch there between what the NDC says and what the farmers on the ground are actually experiencing or doing. The other point maybe to make here is that farmers organizations have been implementing various projects from various development partners and other sources. So why is it difficult for them to really get this climate finance? Because they will still use the same methods they are doing to implement other projects that are funded by development partners. So I'm saying they already have capacity to deal with climate finance, because they are already accessing finance for other projects. And if that was not working, we would have seen maybe development partners pulling out in supporting a farmers organizations, but it's not the case. So it means they are already in the space and they are able to work on that. We also see from what we are doing in one of the projects that we are implementing that farmers are already doing quite a lot in adopting mitigation and adaptation practices, often using their own resources. So what they just need is more support for them to continue on the same trajectory. So hence the need to get climate finance to them through farmers organizations for upscaling of mitigation and adaptation measures. Then this slide is just also now looking at, yes, I've already confirmed that farmers organizations derive their legitimacy from having farmers affiliating to them. In general, they are already doing quite a lot in agricultural development. That's why we are actually in this platform to try and deal with the issues that we are facing in Africa. So the same methodologies used to execute agricultural development projects can still be used to implement climate change mitigation and adaptation projects. Efforts need to be prioritized when it comes to accreditation as recipients of climate finance. Yes, it's important because I have already alluded to why it is important for them to access climate finance. Then, as a special group who are really dealing with climate change challenges at farm or plot level, they may need to have some special accreditation opportunities, because if they lack capacity to really go through the tedious processes, why not make it easy for farmers' organization to be able to easily get accredited for them to get access to climate finance? Of course, when we look inwardly to us as farmers' organization, what we need to do is to strengthen our financial management systems. We also need to really strengthen our databases by digitalizing, for example, to make sure that once we start accessing these climate finance resources, we can actually deal with them in a way that we don't get ourselves into maybe issues with the funders. And then in addition to that, we still need more capacity building within ourselves, both for resource mobilization, but also for lobbying and advocacy for policies that are supportive of farmers' organizations in Africa in general. So yes, I'm concluding by saying financiers should move with speed to remove all barriers hindering farmers' organizations from directly accessing climate finance. And what we have seen is that there's a lot of red tape when it comes to access to finance in general, but also mainly access to climate finance. To say, let's try and do away with all these red tapes that makes it very complicated for farmers' organizations to access climate finance. And then what we have also seen is that if you try to access funds, these funds, it's very time consuming from the time you set in an application to the time of the disbursement of the funds. It usually takes a long time that by the time you get the funds, maybe some of the issues that you wanted to deal with will have been overtaken by events. So that will be the brief presentation that I had in preparation for the session that sessions we are going to have in the breakout rooms, but that will be for Bedi to organize. But before we can go there, I will just say, maybe as an opening when we get to the rooms, to say, are we really accessing climate finance as farmers' organizations? We are all farmers' organizations in this platform. I mean, apart from our partners who are joining us, but I think that is the most important question to get us starting by saying, are we really accessing climate finance, not other finances, but specific climate finance? Thanks, and over to you, Obedi.
Thank you so much, Tinashe. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. I think you have covered a lot of areas in terms of climate finances. And you have left us with a question. Are we really getting those climate finances? Are we really accessing them? Or we are just assuming we are accessing while we are not? So I will take this opportunity to allow some few questions. If anybody have any question, suggestion, or comment, please raise your hand and I will allow you. Gansham, you're welcome.
Yes. For me, for the access for the climate finance, it's really difficult because there is no structure from now, what I know, because all the funds goes directly to the government. Or FAO, IFAD, and all these are working with the government. They are not working with farmers' organizations. At national level, we are. Even when the climate finance, when it goes to the Ministry of Environment, and the Ministry of Environment always look like agriculture is not concerned with this issue. They will not do with the ministry because the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Environment, they are not working together. This is, and especially when it goes, it's difficult. If they go to the Ministry of Agriculture, they will not recognize the farmers. They will go to do something or other things. But it's quite difficult. I think at regional level, maybe it can come at regional level. But even the regional level, there is, for example, for Sakao, they have 13 countries, and how much they will give for the 13, it will be very less. That's why it is important to have a way that it came to a country level for farmers organization. And I think that PAFO can play a great role here with the African Union and with the government together to create a kind of workshop to get the finances access. That is my view. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gansham. I think it was more for an addition point. It was more for a contribution on what as farm organization we have to do. And let me allow Aruna Lawani. Aruna, you have the floor.
Oui, merci beaucoup, merci.
Thank you. I want to take the floor for the first, wanted to take it during the first session, but I wasn't able to. But for the climate financing, I'm interested to see at the high level. It's important to see that for the most of the farm organizations today, especially within the national platforms, they want to benefit from this finance fund, but we have challenges. We remember when there was the COP in Egypt, is the state that had gotten access to this financing. It was in Egypt that we are trying to go into this direction so that we know that when the money goes to the government, it never goes to farmers. But the difficulty that we are seeing today, as you know it, the difficulties are not the same in the countries. And there are difficulties that we cannot resolve. That's why I'm in agreement with our friend who was presenting, saying that at every country, we must come up with the project and also ensure that a PAFO can help us and other organizations, the regional organizations, to help us, whether Europa in West Africa, to help the national platforms to have a practical project that can be financed and be viable. The other element that I want to talk about is linked to financing. Climate finance is the type of organization that we need at the African level. The PAFO has a very important role to play because through PAFO we can even have a larger project for greener green funds that can actually be applied in every country. So I think we should look at how we can make use of this fund. And as you know, there is no specialist in resource mobilization in organizations. But to have access to this type of resources, we should have a specialist. Like it's not the farmer who's not going to look for the funds. So we should have these people who are well equipped to see how us, the farmers, can have access to this fund, because the problem exists already in our structures. Because we have areas that are completely affected by flood. It's not flooding, it is drought. There are so many problems that we are going through. It's not Africa that is the cause of all these. We actually suffering from problems that have been created by the countries in the north. Yet, more and more, one of my friends spoke about the youth, that even the principle of pollutant pays, we should put that into practice, and so that we can have see how to use the finance. And also the question of democracy and right, human rights, because if they don't have good governance, we'll start by putting this money for farmers, they'll ask about governance, and very soon the government will tell us that we have done this for you. You are not able to manage funds. You are not well organized. And it's the state that is not going to come to us to tell us to help us. So I think that is essentially what I wanted to say as my contribution in relationship with what others said, and to say thank you first because of what our friend said, because the problems that we are having are problems of capacities, and because if the farm organizations are supported or have the people who can look for resources, they are going to solve these problems. Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Obedi, are you not muted? Obedi?
Yes, I'm not mute. Hello, Tinashe.
Oh, yes, I could see that you were talking, but we couldn't hear you. Thanks.
Yes, I think the network is not stable. If you have any reaction to those two comments, please react. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
I think there were more of comments already. I think in the interest of time, I really don't need to react to them. There were more of comments than questions.
Yes, Tinashe. I think you are right. Because of interest of time, let us. So I'm going to take you to the next session. The next session, we're going to have the breakout rooms where we are going to discuss 5 questions within 40 minutes. So I don't know if Zubair, you have already prepared the breakout rooms. We are going to have the French-speaking group, and we're going to have the English-speaking group. So we have 40 minutes to discuss those 5 questions. Only 40 minutes. Zuberi?
Yes, Obedi, the rooms are open, so you can choose depending with what you want.
Okay, thank you. So let us not so much time.
I have raised my hand, please. My hand is up.
Okay, Belkadi Nurdin, sorry, I didn't see.
Okay, j'avais pas.
Nurdini, you have the floor. So I think we can just go to our breakout rooms. Hello, Nurdin. I don't know. I think maybe it's a problem with the interpretation. Let us. Yes. Speaking, please turn on your microphone. And if you want to speak something, please raise up your hand. Please raise up your hand, and I will allow you to speak. So we are coming almost at the end of this. So after the discussion that we had in the breakout rooms, now we are going to do the presentation. You are going to present on what you have discussed in your breakout rooms. So I will start with, I'm going to start with English-speaking group. You have only 5 minutes to present what you have discussed in your breakout rooms. Only 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, we're going to have another 5 minutes for the either contribution or the questions with the participants. So the rapporteur of the English-speaking group, please, you're welcome.
Thank you already. I'll be presenting on what we discussed in the English group. For question 1, the main barriers that we got were capacity of the farmers to write project proposals, and also lack of information on getting accredited, also capacity to for the farmers organizations to fund its own duration. Also weak engagement with national and stakeholders with national climate change processes and stakeholders and networks whereby we could get finance. Moving on to the question 2, the advocacy strategies, we were able to get workshop. We could have workshops at national level with help from international and regional boards to get to use as farmers organizations. On question number 3, we were able to identify that partnerships can leverage on capacity that organizations have or the entities that they currently have. Also, we're able to identify that partnerships with credible organizations to close up the gaps and issues to get access to information and funds from their donors or their funders. Also, another point that we have, its capacity on what the current country is currently doing. Also, financing goes straight to the government, which hinders the current organizations or the farmers organizations to have partnerships.
Please, can you share your screen?
We didn't make a presentation, but we wrote down just a few notes.
Okay.
I don't know if it's hard to get the points or I should go slower.
I think so. Just go a little bit slower.
Okay. Should I repeat the current question number 3 or move on?
Just move on, I think.
Okay. On question number 4, the first point is that social media reaches all the barriers that exist. Therefore, it breaks them down in terms of geographical location or area. An example was made that you can post something in your current country and it could reach a greater audience within a few minutes of what you want to know in the world. The second point, it was that social media is cost effective. Therefore, input from farmers can be attained easily. Another point is that it helps with innovation or it helps to connect with the technology processes with technology in terms of innovation. Question number 5, which is the last one. The first point is that engaging all these platforms at national level. Also, it's important to have enough voices at the country level to use least developed countries as entry points and at national and at a regional level. That would be all for the English group.
Thank you so much for the presentation. If anyone from the group has anything to add from what the rapporteur has already presented. Anyone? If there is no anyone with the additional point, let me move to the French-speaking group. The rapporteur of French-speaking group, please, you have the floor. We don't hear you.
Sorry, it's okay now?
Yes, now it's okay.
Ok, voilà. Merci beaucoup. Je
Thank
présente
you.
rapidement
I'm going to present quickly
des réflexions au niveau de
the work by the French-speaking group. For the first question, there was an issue of talk about the main obstacles that farmers are facing in terms of accessing climate financing, and we identified 4 challenges. The first one is a linguistic obstacle. Important to say that there is a dominance of English at the international level or other languages. So the language is actually an obstacle. Obstacle of organization, of human resources who are competent in terms of mobilizing financial resources, especially for climate finance in the farm organization. The third point is the fact that there is no clear policy or choosing between actions for adaptation and actions for some countries. We also need to note that the biggest part of the climate financing, is targeted government. Just a small part that goes to civil society organizations, and this was actually brought out in Egypt during the last. That's the response that we prepared for the first question. For the second question, strategies or advocacy strategies have been in promoting farmers' interest in the negotiation of climate financing at local, national, international level. So what we noted fundamentally is what happened in Egypt, and this was the role of the society organizations, and which actually criticized the approach of donors who send most of the largest part of the climate financing to the government. And this means that civil society organizations and the farm organizations are left out. On the third question, where we were supposed to see how partnerships with the NGOs, government and financial institutions can facilitate access by farmers to climate financing. And the first element that we brought out was the necessity to have a better collaboration, better synergy in action in these 3 actors, the NGOs, government and financial institutions in the different countries. In this group, we took the experience from Benin, which is important to take advantage of the countries that are less advanced in these issues of collaborations and synergy, and profit from this. The other proposal that we made is having advocacy. Having advocacy the civil society organizations and farm organizations, so that we can have better participation of these two in the processes at the level of countries. The other thing that we said is the need to have advocacy at the level of countries for the implementation of climate financing, or to have specific budgetary lines that are dedicated for climate change, because right now what we have is the classical banks, which in their financing equipment, they don't have a person who specializes in climate financing, and this means that there is a gap in terms of climate financing. And finally, so this is a proposal not specific for climate finance. The proposal that came from Burundi, they suggested that when it comes to accessing credit or financing, that the government can play the role of guarantor to support the farm organizations so that they can have access to credit. And so the question is what to know how technology and social media can be used to amplify the voice of farmers in the discussion of climate financing. Here we said that what important is to avail information to farm organizations, to give the information to farm organizations so that they would know about the existing sources of financing and also the conditions that they are supposed to meet so that they can get the financing. The farm organization can also prepare themselves and train themselves so that they can meet these conditions and make use of all the social media platforms that exist, web media, X, Facebook, but media that belong to the farm organization. The other thing that we brought up is share this information in the national languages of members so that we can reach a wider audience of the farmer. The last question was to see how farmer organizations can communicate effectively their needs and priorities during the negotiations on climate finance. Already we have seen from the beginning, before participating, we should make sure that there is a proper coordination of actions with the different actors, the NGOs, the state, the government. Also, make sure that we have this coordination for the different actions with a proper role sharing for each category of actors at the country level. We also have the farmers must prepare effectively the national level so that they can prepare their messages and this message that they communicate to the negotiations level be out of consensus that well prepared. So now these are the results of our discussions. Francophone group, if other members of the group want to say something, they can.
Yes, thank you so much for the good presentation. If there is anyone from the French-speaking group, if you have anything to contribute, any additional point, please. You have 1 minute. So no one. Thank you so much for all the. Please, Nordin, mute yourself. Yes, so thank you so much for all the two groups for the good presentation that you have done from what you have discussed in your French group. So I will have like 10 minutes to give you the summary of what we have discussed from the presentation of Stephen Muwaya and the Tinashe Chavhunduk presentation and these breakout sessions. I will just use 10 minutes. So if there is some point that I didn't take, please bear with me. So let me try to share my my screen with you. So everyone, can you see my screen?
Yes, Obed, you can see it.
Yes, we have discussed from when we started, we were discussing about the COP and UNFCCC on how the farm organizations we can engage, we can participate in this platform. And I have used the rings that you see there. It's a ring of the Olympics. So this is just like Olympic. You need to prepare physically, mentally. You need to prepare in each and everything in order to win the race. So I'm going to share with you on what we have discussed based on the questions that we have prepared. So the first
Donc la première
around barriers. And on the barriers, the question was, what are the main barriers that farmers organizations face when trying to access climate finances? Mr. Stephen Muwaya and all the groups have presented, so I have just taken some of the points. The first one was on a complex eligibility and compliance requirements. The requirement that are needed by, let's say, COP or UNFCCC, sometimes they become a complex issues when it comes to farm organizations. And the second one was lack of technical capacity and expertise. I think all the groups have mentioned it, that we don't have enough capacity, we don't have enough expertise in order to participate in these COP and UNFCCC. And another barrier is limited access to information and resources. There is a lot that are going on, but us as farm organization, we don't have the information. We don't have access to those informations. And the fourth one was inadequate financial support. Like what Dr. 𝐀𝐼𝐜𝐵 was asking, if you wanted to participate on the COP, if you wanted to participate on UNFCCC, there is anyone who can finance us. So, most of the time you may find that there is a very limited financial support that hinder farm organization to participate. And other one was limited partnerships and networks. We don't have enough partnerships and networks. And this is not only at the international level, even at the national level, we don't have those partnerships to discuss about COP and UNFCCC and other issues related to climate finance and climate change in general. And the last one was inadequate national and local government support. Almost all the groups have mentioned it, that sometimes even the
même les gens qui participent au COP
they don't have expertise in the climate change. They don't have expertise in agriculture. So those governments do not even say we have 8 seats for, let's say, farm organization to be here in order to participate. So there is a little bit of inadequate national and the local government support. And the second one was around the advocacy strategies. The question was around what advocacy strategies have been effective in promoting farmers' interest in climate finances negotiation at the local, national, and the international level. And here we discussed a lot of points, and I was able to capture just some of the points. The first one was on building strong coalitions and alliances. We need to have those strong partnerships with other stakeholders. And the second one, we need to the training capacity. We need the training and capacity building for farmers representatives, as we have mentioned in the barrier section, that the barrier is we don't have inadequate expertise. So we need to train them. So this is another area of advocacy strategies. And the second one was direct representation in policy dialogues and climate negotiations, where Dr. Stephen Muwaya, the expert, has emphasized more than enough that we need a direct representation in these dialogues. And the other one was engaging media in the public awareness campaigns. This was derived from the French-speaking group. And the other one was engaging in participatory budgeting and policy-making processes, where an expert, Mr. Stephen Muwaya, emphasized here again that we need to participate in these policy-making processes, us as farm organization. And the other one was aligning climate finance as a request with the national determined contributions, where the French-speaking group was saying, like, we need to participate in every platforms in the country that related to COP or the UNFCCC. And on the third question was around the partnerships. And if I can read it, how it came, it is how can partnerships with non-government organizations, government, and financial institutions facilitate better access to climate finance for farmers. So in this, I've just captured some. The first one was on capacity building and technical assistance. Through these partnerships, it can help us to being capacitated and in different areas that needs expertise and technical areas. And the second one was simplifying access to financial resources. By the time you have partnerships, it's easier even to get the financial resources. And the third one was increasing farmers' access to information and networks. Most of the time the information are there, but because we don't have partners, because we don't have the collaborators, we don't access those information. So through partnerships, it can assist us, it can help us to access those informations. And the fourth one was an advocacy and policy support for farmers' needs. Through partnerships, we all know that without partnerships, you can't advocate everything at your own. You need partners. You need other organizations that can support you. So through partnership, it can help to advocate and providing policy support for farmers' needs. And the last one was supporting programs and projects. Through partnerships, you can have different supporting programs and projects that related to either COP, UNFCCC, and how can you as farm organization participate in those platforms. And the fourth question, sorry, I'm a little bit faster because of time. And the fourth question was around technology and social media. And if I can read it how it came, it is how can technology and social media be utilized to amplify the voices of farmers in climate finances discussions. And here we came out with different ideas. And I have just highlighted some. So like technology and social media can be a powerful tool for amplifying farmers' voices in climate finances discussions. Like what English speaking they were saying. If you are in UK, you don't need to be in UK in order to influence people who are in Africa. You can use just the social media to influence. So, and this, it came because it has increasing, it can help to increase the visibility. So some of the points that I have captured is that social media campaigns for awareness and advocacy, we can use that in order to advocate in different areas of climate finances. We can create and promoting hashtags. We can use platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram to share real-time updates from the climate finances events, such as the UN climate conferences, allowing rural communities to stay informed and being involved, yeah? And the other platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, we can use them in order to enable farmers to share their stories directly. And the other one is on data-driven storytelling, which it came from the French-speaking group. And this is a very powerful point that you need data-driven storytelling. You need the story that you are telling people that we don't access funds. We are suffering with the climate change. Yeah, you need data-driven storytelling on how much are you suffering, on how much have you not gotten those funds. And the last one was on podcasting and audio platform for broader outreach. You can use the podcasting and the audio platforms for broader outreach. And the last question was on on the communications of needs and priorities. And if I can read the question, how it came like, how can farmers' organizations effectively communicate their needs and the priorities during climate finance negotiations? How can farmers' organizations effectively communicate their needs and priorities during climate finance negotiations? And here we have some of the few points. The first one was developing a unified and clear messages, and we need to collaborate together. And this, it came from one of the commentator in the participants area, who said, sometimes we go there, we go to the COP, we go to UNFCCC, but everyone is doing thing of his or her own. We are not unified. People, they go there like they go to the tourism. They're just going there like they're going to enjoying to the vacations. Everyone is speaking different languages. So we need to develop a unified and clear message. And the second one was to provide data-driven evidence. You need data in order to communicate. You need data, and this is the area where most of the farm organization we are failing. We don't have the data. We are just moving with emotions. Yeah. And the third one was tailor messages to the audience. The message that you are giving the audience, are they understanding? Are you on the same page? And the fourth point was collaborate with allies. For greater visibility, you need to collaborate with other organizations. Like here, PAFO today, we are collaborating with FFFD, we are collaborating with AHA, we are collaborating with you. And you collaborate with others in order to have those greater visibility. And the fifth point was be prepared with negotiation points and compromises. And it came from the expert, Mr. Stephen Muwaya, who said you need to be prepared when you go to the COP. You need to be prepared when you go to those platforms. By the time you are not prepared, you will be taken out. Yeah. And the last point was to highlight adaptation and mitigation synergies. You need to have those kind of synergies when you go to the COP in order for you to communicate your needs and priorities correctly. So this the last section was just my comment that farmers organization can communicate their needs and the priorities effectively by combining data with compelling stories, preparing targeted messaging, leveraging visual tools like those of social media, and the partnering strategically. Through that, I think we can communicate our needs and the priorities, and not just communicate. We are going to be heard by those who are in the power of assisting us. So this was what I have prepared in terms of the summary of what we have discussed. Sorry if I've not captured your point. You know, sometimes it's a little bit difficult when you are hosting a meeting and prepare a summary at the same time. So that was it. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Mr. Stephen Muwaya, an expert of today's session. Thank you so much, Tinashe Chavhunduk, who prepared the climate finances and how farmers can access them. Thank you to Zuberi and INSAF and the whole PAFO team for keeping assisting us technically and in every area that you can. Thank you to FFFD and the AHA for keeping sponsoring us and donating and supporting us. So thank you so much for all of you for participating in this today's session. So over to you, INSAF or Zuberi, for the closing. Thank you.
It was excellent. You have made a very good summary. So I will just say that I thank you all for having been there. And I'm very happy because the section was very interactive. There were very many presentations, very interesting interventions. I hope that during COP29 we could change a bit and that the farm organizations will be able to make their voices heard and also the voices of farmers. I will ask you kindly, if it is not inconveniencing to you, to open your camera so that we can take a photo. So now I get out of the coordination of the platform. I will use it for our organization.